What's up, friends of the good mood? This is Manni and welcome to the absolute troll Giga-Chad setup in multiplayer here in Armored Core 6. And of course I'm speaking about the rocket launcher tetrapods with both the 10-fire rocket launcher on the shoulders and the 4-fire rocket launcher on both hands with a very quick reload. This, ladies and gents, is gonna be fun, so let's begin! Boom! And if you've already seen this video on the Manni Gaming channel, be aware I deleted them there and uploaded them here now, because this is now the place for Armored Core 6 video content. And for those who followed over here to support me, watch time is the #1 criteria, so stay till the end, watch the whole thing, maybe even twice, that really helps. This is me starting my PvP setup, and this is my first poor victim. So this is gonna be a 12-4 victory session, which means I'm also going to be losing. I'll show you how and why later. Also, you get the detailed setup and share code at the end of this video, but this guy, he's not gonna be winning anytime soon, man. Let's have some fun. Oh, man, look at this guy, dude. He's getting down. Half his HP is gone in a single salvo, because when I fire those rockets, I understand that I hit best when the enemy is falling, you know? When they're falling down, look, that's the rest of him. When they're falling down after their energy is depleted, because I'm flying high with the tetrapod setup, maximum altitude. So they're gonna fly after me, and they're gonna try and attack me up here, even with melee weapons such as this. And then eventually they run out of juice, so they will fall back down. And that's when I launch my entire homing missile salvo at them. And they're gonna completely collect that whole thing, because they're landing, falling to the ground. They have no more juice to dash and evade, so they're just gonna get hit full in the face, get staggered, and then they get taken critical hit damage. And because so many rockets are coming in, the first couple of them trigger the staggering, and all the other rockets coming in after are gonna have some wonderful fun with him. This guy actually just bailed the battle. Like, after taking the second battle and taking so much damage, he like stood at the side of the corner and just waited for me to kill him. He was done. He no longer wanted to fight. And yeah, we have a lot of different setups. This here is a tank setup with these very quick tank treads. And yeah, he's flying up to me, and I was really surprised about his mobility, because I thought, yeah, it's a tank setup. He can't be a lot of in the area. I'm probably gonna be dominating him, no problem. But he was more fast than I expected, and even getting up to the highest altitude pretty quickly. But as normal, as you would expect, he's not able to stay here for very long. He can get up here for a little bit, but then he eventually, you know, loses his energy and he needs to go back to the ground. And that is what makes a tetrapod so good. Now, I'm also still experimenting with a lot of things, because the game is still new, we're all figuring things out, and I'm the kind of guy who really tries everything and tries to find a very special use for every little thing. Most people in PvP are running the pulse armor, which gives you a little bubble that follows you around, giving you a boost armor for a while. I, on the other hand, I try the pulse barrier, which makes a bigger bubble that is stationary, that can block incoming damage. In this case, I wasn't able to make good use of it, but I will try very different ways on the ground. I will try it in the air, which of course me as a tetrapod setup allows me to hang in there and sit in that bubble in the air. Now imagine a bigger bubble that protects more damage, and as a tetrapod setup you sit right in the middle, hovering high up above the ground. That sounds like a really funny thing, but hey buddy, how does the damage feel down there? But yeah, so this is something I'm going to try. Also in future videos more and more, but of course most people are running either the terminal armor for you know, for the last stand basically, or they're running the pulse armor that gives them a mobility shield and basically more defense on the move, which probably outperforms the shield barrier that I'm using, but doesn't mean I'm gonna just use what I think is more fun. And yeah, that's just me trolling and finding oh man, this is just I love it. Alright, so the next enemy has a full tank build. We so far won 4-0, which means we've beaten 2 opponents twice. Like I said, there's gonna be 2 opponents beating me later, so stay tuned if you want to see how that happened. But this guy here with his tank, and I feel like tanks are something I can beat the easiest, because they have the least amount of time in the air. Keep in mind though that the video footage you're seeing is not in chronological order, but I wasn't so good at this time yet. You will see that I fire rockets before I established a lock-on with a rocket launcher, resulting in rockets raining to the ground that aren't homing in. They weren't locked on to the target yet. At this time, that was my first few PvP matches with this setup, and I didn't yet understand that you have to wait for the lock-on to establish first before you send your rocket launcher. So some of my shots I'm firing here are just raining aimlessly to the ground because I'm not locked on to the enemy. So yeah, keep that in mind, but we're still kicking some serious butt right there, or bot if we want to call it like that, and still winning. Even though I'm really messing up, like 30% of my shots right there, I just sent aimlessly to the ground. You see more of that happening right here. Yeah, bear with me. Those were my first matches, and I got better at it then in time. One thing that surprises me a little bit about the PvP in Armored Core 6, I don't know how the previous Armored Core games handled that, is that you can activate pulse armor and terminal armor while you're being staggered. And that really surprises me because, you know, normally I would assume you're being staggered, all your systems are offline, and you are going to take critical hits because you didn't avoid getting staggered, and this is a time when you're very vulnerable. But it seems like right now, in many situations, you can kind of cheat your way out of that critical hit time by just activating pulse armor in this moment, or terminal armor, which you've seen right here, when you're trying to get close to really hammer in some massive damage. For example, with double Gatling guns, another video like this is coming up, where this happens a lot to me. I stagger the enemy, and now I want to unleash an absolute hellstorm of critical hit bullets on them, but they activate terminal armor, so I have to get away from them, and then can't follow up with my deserved critical hit damage. I don't know, I think you should probably have to observe your stagger bar and preemptively, skillfully use it before you get staggered, or when you are about to get staggered instead. But if you miss that window of opportunity, then you know, you should be taking the full damage at that time. At least that's what I think about it, or my opinion. But yeah, please let me know how the older Armored Core games handled that. I would really be very interested to know. So far we are winning 6-0. There's going to be a couple more wins coming before we really start to losing some. So yeah, you can see here I'm staggering the enemy, but I have no rocket launcher ready to follow up with some critical hit damage. And I just see so many things while watching this and editing this video that I need to optimize for further gameplay. I still, in the heat of the moment, fire too early before the rocket launcher is aimed in on him and wasting shots. Also not observing the stagger bar, getting ready for it. Here I do it perfectly though. The enemy's almost staggered and I send all 4 rocket launchers after him. He's trying to escape, but he gets staggered and completely annihilated by all those rockets hitting him in his vulnerable stagger state. But it's interesting to see myself playing here. In the heat of the moment, you do things so quickly and like intuitively, and then later you see your own footage, you're like, okay, you should have done this better, and this wasn't very good, and that I should have done better. And I'm the kind of guy who does min-maxing a lot. I will eventually min-max the living hell out of this game in my own gameplay. But like I said, those were kind of the first battle moments I had, and I'm seeing so many things, man. I have to really make sure never to hit that button too early before the rocket launcher is established with a lock-on. Here's a failed kick, for example, while the enemy was staggered. Oh, come on! I need to plan the enemy stagger time. I need to really make the best out of the enemy stagger time by conserving shots until that happens, and then just stagger with 1 rocket launcher and follow up with everything else right after. Here you saw it, that I had him staggered, but he just activated pulse armor in that moment. Didn't help him for long though. Yeah, but the use of the pulse barrier could be optimized so much. Using it in the air will require me to fall after, so I can't activate and keep hovering so immediately. So far, every time I activate it in the air, I keep falling after. Maybe I just have to press the hover button one more time, but basically, so far I fall down, I fly back up, and I hover in the barrier if I get the right altitude. So not so easy to do. But yeah, so much to optimize, so much to learn, so much to make better in the future videos, and I'm looking forward to doing all this. So this guy, you got staggered even in mid-air. You can see that even dashing in mid-air does not automatically prevent you from getting hit by rockets, because you have to dodge in the right direction. You kind of have to dodge into the rockets, slightly to the left or right of it, something like that. This will disrupt the targeting system of the rockets, and you will not get hit. But if you dash backwards, for example, they will just follow you and hit you. So make sure to dodge slightly into the rockets to the side, and this way you can best avoid getting hit. Me as a tetrapod setup flying in the air, I don't have to dodge. If I hover fast enough and I build a fast hovering setup, then I can just fly into the rockets slightly to the side, and most of the enemy rockets will miss. Not all of them though, but yeah, most of them, and that is what it's all about, avoiding as much damage as possible, because you're never going to be able to avoid all the damage coming in, but most of the damage, and that already makes the biggest difference. Here, I'm glad this guy's running double grenade launchers, because this is the easiest thing to fight for me. I see the red indicator coming in, warning me about the incoming grenade launcher shot, and I just stay clear. I just dodge when he fires the big shot. So yeah, it's really not that difficult. The only time when the rocket launchers, grenade launchers are very dangerous is when they are on the shoulders and they're being used while you're staggered, because then you can't avoid them, you know. So but in between of when the enemy is free moving, here I try this. See, I'm trying to put the barrier up in the air and then hovering in that, but it's not so easy to do because I didn't catch the right altitude. This is something we'll be practicing a lot here, because I like to use out of the box setup that not everybody does, and I see nobody using the shield barrier. I was the only one in that one-on-one arena that I was playing for many hours to use that. And if I get that perfect, I think I can really surprise enemies very well with that, because that thing lasts up there for 40 or 30 seconds, I think. And if I do that perfectly, they will have to shoot it down, because they will not really be able to come in and stay in there effectively for a long time. But of course they can shoot it down. I think it only blocks like 4,000 or 5,000 damage, but it blocks more than the pulse armor does. Yeah, so boom, 11-0. Got him. And here comes the last guy I'm gonna beat before we start losing. By the way, I also need your help with something. Ladies and gentlemen, you see this? That's my channel symbol, and I would really love this to become our emblem here on the channel for Armored Core content that I could apply to you guys as, you know, setups when you use the share codes and stuff. You know, that would be awesome, but for this I would need somebody who understands how to use the tools given by Armored Core 6 to design this, because I tried it and I'm absolutely terrible. I just can't get it done. But yeah, so here I kicked the living hell out of this guy, 12-0, and this is the first shotgun meta build that comes around the corner. Extremely fast, mobile with reverse joint legs, double shotgun, instant stagger with every second shot he does. Kind of crazy. I don't think I could win the fight with the tetrapods using rockets here. I would need to get creative and find a different way to do it. But it seems very difficult to hit this fast robot with my rockets, and at the same time he's always in my face and he's able to basically stagger me with 1 or 2 shots and then even follow up with some melee attacks, as you can see right here. It's crazy. So once you're staggered, it's almost over for you. But I'm still kicking really back, like literally. I'm kicking in his face while he's staggered. I'm hitting him hard as he's landing. I'm actually saving the rockets for the moment when I know he's falling and he's gonna be vulnerable to my hits. But at the same time, there isn't too much I can do. Like, he is too quickly how he kills me. It is not. There is a reason why this is currently the absolute meta setup in PvP. The double shotgun builds with some immense damage after staggering. Yeah, the next... by the way, he beat me twice like this. So I show you the first battle. The second battle, it played exactly the same way. So I counted 2 losses here against him. And now we have another opponent who's playing differently. He also has a reverse joint setup and he's flying around insanely fast. So my rocket simply can't hit him. He's shooting me though, so he's not necessarily going in for melee and shotgun stagger, but he is so fast that my rocket's homing abilities simply don't hit him. He even does so much damage that my barrier got destroyed immediately. But, you know, I believe that as it is with every game, speed is key. Speed is meta, and it will always be like this. If you're too slow, you're not gonna be a meta build. You can be tanky and such, but things like this setup that I'm using here will counter it. However, when you're immensely fast, you simply outrun damage. And I believe that speed will be key also in Armored Core 6 for meta builds. And you don't see too many builds that are not absolutely massively max speed fast that actually become a meta. I'm not even sure if my tetrapod setup here will be necessarily meta. It is immensely trollish and is able to counter a lot of things, but becoming meta, I don't think so. It's because the fast setup will be able to eliminate it, and they will be the meta, and you'll see this run a lot. Anyways, just some predictions right now. For now, I just want to get back to this emblem. Those of you who do this for me, I have a business email you can find in the About page on YouTube. If you do manage to have a share code ready with that emblem designed, I'll make sure to mention you and thank you personally for making that emblem in a few upcoming videos where I show this. And yeah, so again, I counted 2 deaths right here, or 2 losses, 12 to 4. This is my share code. You'll find it in the video description and pinned comment for this very setup right here. And that is the setup in detail with the rocket launcher, with every part that is on that setup. And I'm gonna make sure to always give you quality content that is already cut prior to it, so that what you come for is what you get exclusively. No boring rambling over menus. I think that is respecting viewers' time the most, and that is what you're gonna get. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment down below, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe, as brutal as a man can hit, for more. Thanks for bearing with me. You guys are awesome as always. Manni signing off. Bye bye.